Okay, then. Okay, welcome to the October 4th meeting of the Yarmouth Energy Committee. I'm Joyce, the chair of the Yarmouth Energy Committee. I'm here with other committee members, Sandy, Marilyn, Bob, also known as Gio, Barry, Amanda Lima from town staff, the town engineer, and Josh Uhalt, right? Yeah. Hi, Josh. So I guess we're all set to plunge right in. Unless Josh wants to make a public comment at the beginning. Nope. Okay, Josh. In that case, we'll jump right into the approval of the minutes. Over to you, Madam Secretary.
I didn't hear from anybody, but you mentioned that it said that there'd be no meeting in August.
Yes, and it was the August minutes, so I thought that was hilarious, as if we all at the end of the meeting decided we weren't going to do this.
No, I think normally you say, you know, when the meeting is, and then the next week is the Cape Light Compact. And so I thought that we would normally say that there was no meeting for September.
Oh, that was for the Cape Light Compact. That
Right.
wasn't. Oh, right. Sorry, I misread then. I thought that was applying to the Energy Committee.
Okay, so then I guess there have been no revisions that have been requested.
Okay, then can I have a motion?
I so move.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor of approving the August minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we have some people not voting. Nays? Abstentions? Barry, did you vote?
I raised my hand, I guess, on Zoom.
Oh, sorry. Okay, that's fine. Yep. Okay. Well, the next Cape Light Compact update gives you the information that our next board meeting is October 12th. But in the meantime, there's another piece of news from the compact and from our Energy Committee member, Regina Wood. There's going to be an energy fair staged at Matakey's Junior High. So, excuse me, Matakey's Middle School in West Yarmouth. They haven't set up the date. It's coming down to either October 27th or October 28th, but it's going to be during school hours from 10 on. And so what they do is they set up in the auditorium, and it's done kind of like a carnival where you have different booths and you go around. Amanda, if we could ever kidnap you, you would love this. But anyway, they have a teacher at each booth who's from the core of energy teachers that the Cape Light Compact has a recurring group of and a committee of. And anyway, each one is different. Like there's a Wheel of Fortune, there's some gadgets, there's that wonderful walkthrough thing. Did I lose everybody?
Nope.
Oh, okay. I now see a toadstool with a little door in, you know, like my beloved spouse's internet page. But let me just see if I click on Zoom again. Oh yeah, there you are back. Okay. Anyway, they have different booths. And they do have that one thing where you have somebody take a step and their hair sticks out all over from the electrical connection. But, you know, no children have ever been harmed during this, of course. But anyways, they have usually 10 booths, and kids are in little groups, and they take the little groups around by group. And the kids can kind of decide which booth they want to visit next and so forth. And usually they have one of those funny little passports where they get to check off the booths that they've been to. So if anyone is interested, You wouldn't have to work it. You could visit Matakey's. It's going to be the 27th or the 28th, and just sign in as Yarmouth Energy Committee visiting the Energy Fair. And I'm really proud of Regina for doing this. They used to have a lot more of these, and since the pandemic, they haven't really gotten started up again. So I'm glad she's going to do this. And interestingly, the one person who I know is very interested, because he sent me an email asking if I had materials for middle schoolers, or maybe he said junior high school students, on energy lessons and energy curricula, was Mike Duffy. And so we'll have to make sure that he gets there. I guess it's looking like he's not going to be with us today. Who is DC-Solar 2022?
Hi, this is Dip Tom. Yeah, that's my name, DC.
Oh, okay. Hi, Dick.
Hello. Yeah.
And you can see our names under our pictures if you need to talk to any of us, okay? And we can either call you Dick or DC Solar, your preference.
Yeah, you can call me Dip Tom, DIPTM. I will just type it in. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Got it. Dip Tom. Okay.
Yeah. Let me write that down. Is there a chat option of something? Yeah.
Yes. So DIPTAM?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay, so then Amanda, do you have anything you want to talk about from the town, how they're using their energy, how they're generating their renewable energy?
I don't have an updates on that. I had a couple of the CVAC updates that I wanted to provide, if that would be.
Oh, excellent.
So we had, I met a couple months ago. Things have been kind of slow with, the inflation and the interconnect with Eversource. We were waiting from Maria to give us an update regarding some of the round 4 and 5 projects. So I did have a conference call back in September in regards to that. And we had talked about in the past that the interconnect that Eversource was looking to charge for the Parcel E project was at the septic facility, was on the order of magnitude of about 340,000 based on the usage. So, and then on top of that, you've got the inflation, which also has impacted the solar panels. So that project has continued to be delayed. Right now, the updates that we got from their vendor that is working with CVAC, which is called DSD, they are doing this SIP process with DOER, and which kind of concludes the feasibility of the projects moving forward. Once that one is complete, they're going to be doing all the projects that are on CAPE as part of their round 4 and 5, which include for us the Septage Parcel E project. That is estimated to be completed next summer. And then at the completion of that process, we would be renegotiating the agreement with CVAC and DSD regarding this interconnect price, which I mentioned is about 340,000. So we're kind of stay tuned. This one is one of the ones that should have been already done and completed. Unfortunately, is not. And then lastly, I'm waiting for an update for the senior center, because that was also a project that was supposed to be permitted and constructed this past summer, but we haven't heard any updates on the town side. So I've asked Maria, and she said she was going to get back to me on those ones. But they've also passed an Inflation Act, which should help regarding these PV installations. And so hopefully we'll just stay tuned, and something will, help facilitate and get these projects executed.
Okay. Amanda, why do you think the price is so high for the interconnection? Are they thinking of a substation? I'm trying to think what would drive the interconnection price up so high.
So I don't know too much on the matter. I know it really has to do with the relationship with Eversource. There isn't anything changing the design. There's no design elements that are impacting the price. It's just from what we had gathered from the call. It's just a price that Eversource is now taking in consideration, and that when we had originally signed our contract, which was in 2019, I believe, we had assumed that it would be a $0 interconnect. So I think this results of the pandemic, and now, this inflation that we're at.
Oh,
I mean, that's crazy. I mean, there's already a big solar field on top of the water tank there.
the PPA one from back with George?
Yeah.
How does that work with the new ones, Amanda? Do you have any idea?
I don't have an answer on that. I know that there was other project managers that were leading those ones and how they all interconnect. And then we'll have the future one with Amoresco for where the fire tank is on the other part of the parcel, but I'm not sure how they all connect together.
Okay. Okay, any other questions for our town engineer? No? Okay, then. Well, Amanda, thank you so much. It's always interesting to find out what's going on with CVAC, because for so many months we didn't have a town representative, and it's great that we have one now. I don't know whether to congratulate you or commiserate with you, but good for you for being the town rep.
Thank you, guys. Have a good evening.
You too.
Bye.
Okay, now the next item on our agenda is update on Solarize Plus Yarmouth and what we know. You all have received the update newsletter for October, right? I assume you got a chance to look at it. Josh, we sent one to you. Diptom, if you want to put your email in the chat, I'll send you one.
Okay, yeah, I'm going to do that right away. Where I put my name, I'm doing that. It's fairly simple. It's my first name at yahoo.com, diptom@yahoo.com. I'm just typing it,
Oh,
you can
great.
copy from there. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. So anyway, I'm trying to just help our customers as much as I can by getting the information that we can get out there. I confess I'm just amazed that all of this is taking so long. And I have no idea why that is, but it just seems to take forever to get information on the simplest things. We also, some of us who've been getting questions from customers on the home improvement contractor guarantee fund have concluded that the instructions for that were written by aliens from another planet, and a hostile planet at that. I mean, almost impossible to get through. So I think we may have to do some kind of help for people who are still having trouble with that. I've been telling people who contact me by email that I can go over it with them by phone, because it seems like everyone has a different set of questions. So it's not like there's just one paragraph that stumps everybody. The instructions are just not very reader friendly. So let's see. Oh, the other piece of non-news on that was the local consumer assistance group arbitration. That's a group in Hyannis. And the local consumer groups were created by Maura Healy as regional arbitration services. And they have some connection that I did not entirely understand, where they are semi-state. So they have a .com, but they were started by the Attorney General. And anyway, the Cape Islands was one of the regions in the state that agreed to have one of these. So what we're waiting on still is an answer on whether our customers could go through that as a group. I mean, all our customers are from the Cape Islands. Nearly all of our customers, in fact, are from the town of Yarmouth. So that would be a big help if people could go through that as a group. It wouldn't take very long, and then they'd have that arbitration judgment, which may not be the same as a judge's judgment, which is also one of the questions we're waiting for a definitive answer on, but which they could take then to the Home Improvement Contractors Guarantee Fund, which, you know, right off the bat in their letter for people who've asked for information, that seems to tell them they'll need a lawyer because they'll need to get a judgment. So what we're trying to do is enable people to get a judgment without having to hire a personal attorney. And for people who have money invested, the without special circumstances, as long as you can prove that you have a judgment against the contractor, the amount that you can receive without special circumstances, as long as you can prove that you lost $10,000 to the contractor and were unable to get satisfaction, is $10,000. And then with slightly more stuff, you can get $13,000. But I think there are some of our customers who have paid amounts like $19,000. And so that is not going to, you know, bridge the gap for them. So the other thing that's being worked on is an attempt to get some help from SunPower in terms of products, because we're already getting technical help from the Clean Energy Center. And it would be great if we could get products that could be installed either by Clean Energy Center technicians or by people in that mid-range entrepreneurial startup stream of people who, small firms that don't install solar, but do fixes on solar and are hired by solar companies to do this or that update or this or that adjustment. So I'd like to think that we'll have everybody solved. At the rate it's going, I think at this point, I would define success for our dozens of customers as everybody, panels, net metered, smart program enrollment, everything producing perfectly, everything inspected by the end of calendar year 2023, which is, you know, a ways away. I would, at this point, even though all of this should be done already, except for maybe the last 10 installations, if the project were on track, I would define big success as having it all done by Memorial Day 2023. So it's a long haul.
You think Ted knew that the bureaucracy would operate so much in his favor that he could get away with this for years?
Well, it turns out that not under the name of Solar Wolf, but under a different company name, he has operated something before and gone out of business with people's money who paid him as a contractor then, not as a solar dealer contractor. And that was in Massachusetts, that other company. And then it turns out that if you go back, I guess it's almost 14 years, that he had a personal bankruptcy under his own name. So I think he may have had some knowledge of the system.
Joyce, on the consumer group here in Hyannis, I got involved in it when I had a problem with Verizon, and how I ended up getting hooked up with them was through the Attorney General. I put my complaint into the Attorney General, and it was directed immediately to the consumer person in Hyannis, and they ended up contacting me. So since all of us have already got that complaint into the Attorney General, I'm not sure why we are not connected with somebody in Hyannis who can meet with us and figure out what moves we need to do to go forward. They were wonderful with me and stayed with me on the phone and worked with me. So I'm not sure why we haven't gotten to there.
Well, I do know they had a new head that just got appointed at the end of August. That might be part of it. But I think it's possible nobody thought nobody thought of this because this was such a big thing with a portal at the AG's office that's run by a utilities lawyer. So that's her specialty rather than consumer law. But that's just a guess. And so we do have someone, the person I'd label in the updates, brilliant customer, so that he doesn't get a whole flood of emails. But he's talking to that person and has had emails back and forth with that person, with Maura Healy's chief of staff, and with one other person who I forget. But anyway, it's being worked on. It's just everything is taking so long. But yeah, I'm happy to hear, though. I haven't known anybody who's ever had help from that local council, and it sounds like you were quite satisfied.
I was. I got a new product and I got my money back
Wow. Okay.
within a short period of time. So it worked out good.
Wow. So once they're on the job, they move quickly. This is encouraging.
Well, you have to stay with them and go back and forth. But they were very good. Maybe I'll send a little note off to the Attorney General finding out what is happening with my complaint as a personal. And maybe
Okay.
anybody else on here that is with us can do the same thing. Maybe if we have a couple of people poking them, that something might happen.
Yep.
I
I think
all
that's
of
worth
us,
a try.
all of us is standing back because we're waiting for the team to do it, but it's not working. And I think that's the only way that you're going to do it is with a poke.
Okay. And the friends of yours who have the very serious case, have they heard anything back from the Attorney General's office? The ones who did the roof on their own, didn't get it from Solar Wolf and then have been waiting?
Nope, they haven't heard anything. They're waiting for the Solarize Yarmouth group to give them their updates and stuff. I know that there's a Facebook group that has been working on some things behind the scene, but obviously I wasn't admitted in that group.
I know. I think it's hilarious that they don't admit people who actually might be able to help them. But you know, your energy committee membership is held against you, Sandy. Sad, sad.
That's okay. That's all right. I'm working on the other things behind the scenes, so I'll get it.
Okay.
Is there any way that CEC could sue Ted for fraud? Since where the contractual relationship is, that they lied on their RFP response?
Well, you know, that would make me happy.
Well, one of the things that I, both Robert, the town administrator, and myself have said since we've been in municipal procurement is that when the municipalities put out a bond, put out a RFP, there should be like a surety bond, a performance bond that holds the contractor responsible for performing the work for the clients. And I am really not sure why CEC did not include that in their RFP. It is, I don't know, and I'll have to go back into the procurement, but there is a certain amount, but they knew that they were going to at least get a $500,000 worth of work that was going to be done. So I'm not sure why that surety bond wasn't in the RFP.
You know, that's
It's called a performance bond. It's called a performance. And that's why I think that Mass CEC should stand up to the plate here, because some things were missing in that RFP that would have protected the consumers.
Oh,
We
but
have
what
to
I'm
do that when
saying
we're doing
is
procurement.
that Ted went into and took Solar Wolf into, having them make a response with the intention of defrauding all of the, not just the CEC, but all of the clients that wound up getting. I mean, he hid an awful lot of stuff. I mean, we're learning now. I remember when we were, vetting his proposals, and Sheila was worried about that Better Business Bureau thing. Well, turns out was a minor thing in his past.
And none
Yeah.
of those other things showed up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so people wonder how sun power panels, so they may be wonderful, were being offered to them through Solar Wolf. Well, none of that was on the record until the summer after we all did the RFP. Yeah.
He's
Sandy,
being sued for many other people on the outside too, because he built his new building and left his lease.
Mhm.
So that building, that company is suing them, and that all came out after. I think there were 2 or 3 lawsuits after he started with our solarized Yarmouth projects. He got 3
Yes,
lawsuits
yep.
against him.
I remember those cropped up, I think, midsummer in July 2021. Yeah. Well,
Gotta
certainly,
find out a way of hanging him by his thumbs.
well, I mean, the first thing I'm worried about is for people to get the solar
Yes,
that they paid for, of
obviously.
course. And then we've got to figure a way for him not to be able to do this again, even under some other company name, assuming he's not in jail. And my thought about that is when I wrote that update on whatever that was, Sunday, Monday, I got an answer on that from somebody who in fact just discovered Solar Wolf put on their roof, but Solar Wolf did not take out a permit for it.
Ooh.
So it seems to me that that makes it possible to go after his license.
He'll
At
just
least-
start it off in a different name. It's sort of like everybody that goes bankrupt, they just start a new company in an LLC or whatever.
But he'd still have to have his contractor's license though, right? You have to show an ID
He
to
just
get
has
that.
somebody else do that for him.
Oh, and he's a good salesman, so he'll con someone into doing it. Got it. Yeah. Well, we do have startling evidence about,
Right. Joyce, I think Josh wants to speak.
oh, Josh, sure, go right ahead.
Yeah, if I may, I know we're in the heat of this Solarize update, and Joyce, you did such a wonderful job sending us that update for the court stuff. For those people who have not seen it yet, I've linked it in the chat there. Essentially,
Oh,
it's the
thank you.
current filing of the bankruptcy process. I am in that that Facebook group of all of us, little victims there. And when this bankruptcy was filed, I think a week and a half ago, that really kind of livened up the group a bit. And some things that we saw in this filing really drew our attention. Some things that we can scoff at is that there's only 1 to 49 victims. Another one is in assets, they have $0 to $50,000 in assets in this filing, both of which I think are demonstratively not true. The
You're
other
absolutely
thing, I
right.
think the most pressing thing that we were very concerned about was this line here. I'm going to copy and paste the quote in the chat box here. There's 2 court
Oh,
deadlines.
thanks, Josh. Okay.
That,
You want to share your screen?
I can, yeah, I can, of course, if that's acceptable. Let's take
Yes.
a look here.
Oh, sure, go right ahead.
All right, so on my screen here is the 2 links that, if my screen share will start. I'm not sure if you can see it yet.
Not yet.
Yeah, technology is a limit on my end. But for those of you who are waiting, I copied everything that's needed in the chat box. Essentially, there is a meeting of creditors scheduled this month on the 26th. I do not speak Leganese. I do not understand what these deadlines are. For example, am I a creditor? Am I a debtor? I feel like I'm a
Uh-oh.
the proof of claims due in December.
Yeah.
I found that document. Oh, there it goes. There's the screen share. Thank you so much. Okay, so the screen share is working now. These are the 2 deadlines that we're worried about. The one that I'm most concerned about is this proof of claims.
Okay.
That's apparently a US document that's right here. And I feel like we all of us victims have a proof of claim against Ted's company.
Sure.
I don't know how to file this. Many people in the Facebook group do not know how to file this. And none of us are willing to throw good money chasing after bad money in this regard. Something that would help make us whole would be guidance in getting through this paperwork, this litigation process. Some of us take comfort in the legal system and want to follow it to the end. In addition to the gratuity fund or the gratuity fund that's available to us in mass. And that I just wanted to kind of share what the current conversation is with that group and within the community there for you guys to kind of
thank you.
take in, digest, and understand.
Thanks, Josh. And I can send you the instructions that the utilities lawyer at the Attorney General's office is going to send everybody from Solarize Yarmouth or people in Massachusetts. I know you're in Weathersfield. And so that might help you. It's a Massachusetts company, even if you're in Connecticut. And so I'll send that right along to you because I've got you on the larger email list, but most people will be getting that directly because they filed Attorney General's complaints here.
I did see that. That's the first comment in your email that you sent us. All Solarize Yarmouth who filed a complaint with the AG will get information back from the AGO next week. Yes, I was worried that I would not be part of that because I got a letter from the AG that says try the Connecticut AG office, but they don't understand that they opened up this investigation specifically in this company, and I am a part of that. And what's my stake in to do? They're like, Solar who? We never heard of them. And I'm worried I'm going to get left behind, but I'm trying to be as helpful as I can in this regard. So I would appreciate that packet that you mentioned. Thank you so much and including me in that. And then just, I guess, be mindful of the court deadlines that's been imposed on many of us.
Okay. Do you have any idea who's running the telephonic meeting? Because that's the first I've heard of that one.
According to the filing here, they'll release it to the public about 2 weeks prior to the meeting. They said 14 days. I'm trying to see where I read that. And I think it's in one of the PDFs there. If you look at the deadline here, I'll link that in the chat box as well. You'll see it in red. They're really good at drawing your attention to that phone number or when you'll get it. And so it's right there. And it's on that first page. It's under item number 7.
Okay.
I have been talking to an attorney who is looking into this because of the filing that I did with that chapter, what is it, 99 or whatever it is. And
the 93, the 30-day demand.
93 that puts me ahead of all the bankruptcy. But I haven't really got a sit down with her as yet, but I am working with her on that to see. So if I find out any information, I'll get back to everybody. It's not her expertise, bankruptcy or any of this type of thing. So she said if she couldn't do it, that she would forward it to someone else.
Okay. Can somebody make a copy of what's in the chat? Because I'm trying to write all these things down, but I'm also trying to run the meeting.
At the end, I can make the record of it and keep it. So.
Oh, excellent. Okay, so we'll depend on you, Sandy. And welcome back, Srini. We've got Srini and Josh's emails, and we now have DIPTOMs. So we'll send you, all three of you, we'll send that to you.
Thank you very much. This is
yeah, thank you, Joyce. Thank you.
Oh, glad to do it. I'm just trying to think, is there any more we want to say about this?
You want to talk about the building fees?
Oh, yes. Oh, my God. I forgot. Sandy wrote this wonderful letter to the Yarmouth Board of Selectmen, pointing out that Eversource was waiving any fees for like reissuing net metering stuff and all that. And it would be a very good idea if the town did that for repeat fees, building or electrical permit fees in the building office. So Sandy, tell us where that's going tonight.
Well, it's going to the selectmen. I wrote to the chairperson and then I had also talked to the town administrator. So he was going to bring it to the selectmen and then my letter, I think, obviously went. But I don't think that it's fair that we've already paid these fees in the town, and this is a town sanctioned project, that we should be paying fees again for that. So we'll see what happens. I'm hoping.
Well, I think we
These
all
fees will
agree
be
with you
waived.
on that. Oh,
Especially since Eversource is waiving all of it. If anyone was to charge, I would think it would be Eversource, but they have been
Yeah.
very gracious about moving along and changing everything that they can. And they've been very responsive to any communication. I've been very impressed with Eversource.
Okay, so that's on, it's a sign of its importance, I think, with the Board of Selectmen, that lands just after the public comment period. So that's the first item on their agenda. So if you wanted to watch Yarmouth Board of Selectmen at 6, presumably that would happen by 6:30. And if some of the people who talk on and on in public comment period don't make it this week, it could happen before then. Okay, so so we don't really have anything else on this. Dip Tom, I've got your email down on my phone here, this multitasking thing, and I'll be getting you that that update, but it may mean after the meeting, but I'll get it to you. Do we have
Sure.
anything else we want to think about on this? Obviously we can't solve this, but let's just make a point of giving people as much help as we can. And, you know, I know, for example, you know, several of you are from out of town, customers on the line, and that's fine with us. We're glad to help as much as we can, even if you're not in Solarize Yarmouth. So, you know, don't be shy about emailing a question. And for those of you who don't have an email, let's see, Srini and Josh, you have my email, and Dip Tom will have my email, you know, after this sending right after the meeting. So feel free to touch base if you have anything that we could help with. And
Sure.
Sandy, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, no, what Josh said, you know, I mean, he kind of summed it up pretty well, you know, that we need help or, you know, together directions, like, you know, how to fill out those forms, right? You know, because we are not, and yeah, so that's probably something that we all need to do, you know, as next step.
Dip Tom, did you file a complaint with the Massachusetts Attorney General?
I did. Definitely. Yeah, I did
Okay.
about back in May or June, you know, so there were two things, right? One is like there was a general form, right, where you just file consumer complaints. So that I did. After that, I guess somebody from my local police department contacted me and gave me that link to fill specific to Solar Wolf, because, you know, I filed a police report at Shrewsbury, where I'm from, at Massachusetts, you know. So yeah, so they sent me another link, which is, I believe, all of you must have filled up. Is that the one you were talking, or?
Yes. Yep. So I assume that you'll be getting a link from the consumer the consumer stuff on bankruptcy from the Attorney General's office, but just in case she was mentally thinking about Solarize Yarmouth customers with that, just in case, I'll send you that as well as the update from October.
Okay.
And it's nice. It's nice to have such a good representation from Shrewsbury. Srini as well. Go Shrewsbury. Best debate teams in the country.
Thank you. Yeah.
Wait, maybe we should get their debaters involved. That might make short shrift of Ted.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, anyway, the sad story of Solarize continues. And we will continue to help as much as we can. I'm hoping that we'll get equipment from SunPower, and there are measures going on to negotiate for that. And I'm not sure where they'll go. Will we get enough equipment? Who knows? But at least they're in the things are in the fall. People aren't on summer vacation. And I think SunPower, given that a vice president contacted Mike Duffy the same week as we had that first public meeting, I think that they're somewhat interested in giving some help And we'll try to amplify that. Okay, so our next agenda item is discussion of enhanced renewable energy incentives in recent state and national legislation, including new program for nonprofits and solar. That's going to be a big help, I think, for local nonprofits. But obviously, as we're so trying to help people in Solarize and customers of Solar Wolf, and our customers here were all residential solar people. The thing that I was so happy to see in the Inflation Reduction Act was that wonderful extension of the tax credit. In fact, that enlargement of the income tax credit for people who do residential solar and who itemize their tax credits, so that it's 30% now for any of our customers whose things weren't finished by the beginning of August, and that will continue for years. And I hope that will be a small help to them that will take one step toward making up for all the produced wattage that they've missed. Some of the other things are meant like kind of on a long-term scale to encourage more renewable energy training and technicians. And I've got a whole PDF on this, if you would all like to see it. It's about 12 pages put together for the Cape Light Compact, but it describes everything, including the training for the home contractors. And then what might be of interest to you, Barry, the Zero Energy Code adoption, grants to states and local governments with authority to adopt their own building codes. To adopt a code, not for town buildings, but for commercial and residential buildings that meets or exceeds zero energy provisions of an international equivalent stretch code. So if you're all willing, I'll just send you all a copy of this PDF. Okay, because it seems like too much to do as a screen share, because I know we have some important things that we want to get to still. So let me just write myself a note, send PDF. Okay. And would Diptom, would you like a copy of the PDF on the new tax benefits for the state and US as well?
Yeah, that'll be fantastic. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, when
We'll send
since
that
you were
along.
that email, you can attach that one too, doesn't hurt.
Okay. Well, I'll be your most frequent pen pal then for the for the next few hours. Okay. So moving on now, since we're going to have that in our reading, Barry, do you want to take over and talk a little bit about thinking about a proposal for a possible zoning bylaw and what you'd like included in that and how you picture that might work?
Sure. So, I mean, this is at a really initial stage of launching a conversation. I was contacted on behalf of the chair of one of the Outer Cape Select Boards who had landed on this issue and wanted to draft a version for his town. So I've been, providing some help on the drafting issues. But it was based on his discovery that Watertown had actually adopted a bylaw amending their zoning ordinance a couple of years ago to require that any significant new project that required a special permit from the town, which pretty much any major project does, would be subject to a requirement that the project install solar energy from the outset, that it be designed with solar energy, which is different from, as my understanding of what the net zero building code is likely to require, is at most that projects be solar ready, but doesn't
Mhm.
incorporate a requirement to actually install solar. This zoning bylaw, which was signed off on by the Attorney General and is now part of the Watertown, zoning code, requires that any significant project, in order to get a special permit, install solar in that version equal to 50% of the roof area, and there are a variety of other details, lots of different details that individual towns could design, like what counts as significant, how large a project, and how much solar is required. But it essentially requires that unless you're building on a site where solar is simply not feasible, which would be an unusual situation, you actually build solar into your project. I've talked to a few different people around, climate issues around the state. Pretty much everybody's been taken aback. Nobody knew that this was an option, to use zoning authority to require that new projects incorporate solar energy. Given the sense that basically, any significant development will be more economically sustainable if it does take, install solar energy where it's feasible. It feels almost like a no-brainer that this is something which ought to be mimicked around the state. So, just having become aware of it, I thought I should share that information and brainstorm a little about whether it makes sense to make it a priority, because as distinct from most other initiatives, which kind of encourage projects to be solar ready or subsidized solar, this actually says, okay, you've got to actually look at solar in your initial design, and if it's feasible to do it, include it.
So does this mean that for our DPW facility, if 5 years ago or 10, whenever it was at the beginning planning stage, that all of this would have had to be included in their deliberations as they were planning the new facility?
Honestly, I don't know if zoning rules apply to municipal property. My guess is they probably don't, so that it wouldn't necessarily have directly impacted the project. I would assume if a town adopted a rule that new private projects have to plan solar in from the outset, it might influence town planning.
When we were doing the new school, because I'm on the energy committee and because I knew what happened at the DPW, when we were doing the design phase, I required that we have the solar. However, we couldn't really put the solar on with the rebates, et cetera, because that would take the money from the construction project. So what we did was do solar ready. So as soon as the project is completed, we will get in touch with CVEC to get into the next phase so we can do the solar project off of that. But that was part of the design, and what I required everyone to put in the design was to make sure that that building was solar ready and ready to go when we could get into the CVEC next phase. And I had Cape Light Compact right from the beginning in the design at the table with us, doing everything set up for that also.
Go Sandy.
Now,
Well, that was what the Energy Committee wanted.
Yeah,
So
but
since
we
I'm on
weren't
it-
at the table, so we're grateful.
it's my understanding that the DPW facility is solar ready.
I don't think so. I
Because
don't think they never brought Cape Light Compact in. They never did any of that.
It might be, we'd have to check. If Amanda were still here, we'd be able to double check on that. I believe that was claimed by the DPW director at a town meeting when Susan deliberately raised the question.
exactly.
I'm curious, has anybody I mean, it's sort of a sidetrack, but I'm remembering Susan's moment at the town meeting,
Yes.
realizing that they had, I think 'cause they were fast tracking the project because they
Yep.
wanted to get built before the winter or something. They
So
had
before the school,
Before the school and the sewers.
before the school.
and there were all these pledges that they were gonna take care of it soon, whether anything's happened on that.
Well, we could tell whether it had solar by driving by there very slow at a non-crowded time. They might be waiting for CVEC or something, or it might turn out to have some solar. Certainly the fire station across the street is setting a glowing example for solar.
Just, I mean, it's not on the agenda. It's just like mental note to think about harassing somebody about this, because I drive by it most days because the dog park is right across the street.
Oh, okay.
No, I don't think there's any solar on those buildings.
Aha. Well, I
Fair
think
enough.
we count this on the update on town energy use and generation then. If there is no solar, it's not generating.
They would
Well,
have to
so-
wait for a CVEC, one of the phases on CVEC anyhow. So, and right now, everything is being held up because of Eversource. Isn't that what Amanda said? So
Yeah.
just like us with the school, we have to wait for that next phase because obviously the town couldn't afford to put the solar. We'd need the help with the PPA. So I'm sure that that's where it is. And I'm not sure what CVEC is doing with the phases for the town.
Anyway, the question I wanted to get on the agenda is feedback on instincts. Does it make sense? And hopefully this is going to get raised across the Cape. Does it make sense to advocate for the use of zoning authority to require major new developments in town to build with solar energy?
Now, are you thinking about, when you think of the town and zoning, as opposed to what, regional, that would be through the Cape Cod Commission or would be through Barnstable County government? I mean, what's if you don't do it with town, what would you?
No, this is actually,
For homeowners, big developments.
yeah, this is specifically the discovery that zoning authority, I mean, in general, a town can't simply require everybody to install solar. I mean,
Yeah.
Nobody's ever proposed that. It's just not within local home rule authority, not even to require it through the building code. That's what the new state net zero opt-in building code is going to be about. And as I understand it, that's not going to include a requirement for solar as a building code issue. It will require, I think, solar readiness for some kinds of projects. The kind of eureka thing here is the municipal zoning authority includes the power to condition special permits on whatever policies the municipality decides are appropriate. So if you have a project which is not as of right, which virtually all major developments require special permits of some kind. It is an authority that municipalities have that the county doesn't, the Cape Cod Commission doesn't have. It is a local option to impose this standard on major new projects. The Cape Cod Commission would have the authority to impose it on regional developments that come under their authority. What is, I think, called developments of significant impact.
Oh, yep.
The Cape Cod Commission-
The over 10,000 square foot authority.
That, right, I think that's it.
Now, does Eversource have the capability of taking on this type of solar in their infrastructure? If they were to demand that, or if they were to do this? Does Eversource have the infrastructure to do that?
I mean, since this would only apply to new projects, so we're not talking about an enormous percentage of real estate in the Cape suddenly having to install solar. I doubt if that would turn out to be a real obstacle. And
Because I was at some meeting that with Eversource and National Grid that said that some of this, all of these ideas. I do know that Eversource is working on doing batteries and doing some other things to make their infrastructure better for the solar piece, but I do remember being at a meeting that some of this, no matter how little or how much, might impact them. So it might be worth checking on that too. I don't know.
but obviously, as a policy matter, the state has to require the utilities to absorb more solar energy. And I think part of the recent, the newest state climate legislation is pushing in that direction. But it would be unacceptable to limit the amount of new renewable energy on the grid because Eversource isn't building the infrastructure required to absorb it. It may become a political issue as to whether they argue that they can't, but that would be crazy in terms of the state's.
I've been at some of those meetings. It became very volatile.
It's amazing the things that people drag their feet on and get invested in that would be in their long-term interest.
It's all about the bottom line in this.
I just had an idea about this 340,000 Eversource proposal. I mean, that it's going to cost that. We've also got the biogenerator facility possibly coming online, so that whole DPW facility is going to become a very significant generator of electricity over the next couple of years. They must have to put, some sort of station in there to absorb that electricity into the grid.
Well, I don't know I think everybody was on the Energy Committee, maybe Camilla might not have been, when Dan Knapnick met with us, God knows how many years ago, to say that the notion of building a major solar farm on the
Avery course,
on the Lynx course wasn't feasible because Eversource didn't have a substation that could handle the output of energy, and so the price of the project would be unaffordable because Eversource would force the project to absorb the cost of a new substation. That is a real issue in terms of how much major new renewable sources can be built, but that problem's got to be solved at the level of the DPU and the state.
Yeah, I think you're right that Bayberry facility is right adjacent to the transfer station as well. I mean,
that's why I wondered if that was possibly involved when Amanda was talking about the septage plant and the CVEC. But I think CVEC's difficulties alone could explain delays. It wouldn't necessarily have to be Eversource.
Yes, yeah.
But doing the project on the Lynx, wasn't that all in regards to the open space grant that was given, the funding that was given for the park, that they couldn't really use it?
No,
I was on the Recreation Commission when they did that. And that was one of the specific things, that you could not change the use of that open space to anything if we agreed to take that money. So I think that would have to be unraveled.
Yeah, no, I was bringing it up only in the sense that we have the possibility of an enormous amount of electricity being produced in that little corner of the town. I had forgotten about the Lynx thing as well, but
You big buddy.
Uh, anyway, obviously, Eversource is gonna, they've got to be seeing this coming along and planning ahead for this whole thing to happen.
I mean, I think some of it is simply a competitive issue in which Eversource would be happy to build new substations to absorb new solar projects that they get to build. Like the project they're talking about building on their own, maintenance facility here.
Yeah.
And they are using their control of the grid to try to get a monopoly on the opportunity to expand solar energy output.
Harry, I didn't know you were so cynical.
It's not cynical, it's just like observing what's actually happening. And at the state level, that's got to be a policy priority to force the utilities to make their grids available for new renewable, or else the state's declared objectives of how much renewable energy they need to add won't be possible. Hopefully the new administration will make that a higher priority. But on the links, I think it was always assumed.
Oh yeah, I mean
it would take a special act
of
The legislature. Yeah.
But that's not. I mean, but that actually isn't that hard. I mean, if there is a consensus locally that satisfies the environmental requirements for the trade-off of other open space for the golf course space, that could have gotten done. What Dan was arguing was that wasn't the real obstacle. The real obstacle was the incapacity of the grid to absorb a project of that scale.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, we don't need to beat this to death. I just kind of wanted to put this in folks' heads because I hope it's going to become an initiative that is proposed to towns across the Cape. And while ultimately the zoning amendment would have to go through the planning committee, I'm assuming it would need the support of the energy committee, since as a policy matter, the reason for it is the energy implications of that new zoning requirement.
And also there's the timing issue, which is that we've never before had a board of selectmen so well disposed towards sustainability and energy issues. We have a town finance director who's pushing the whole energy park and keeps up the drumbeat for that and keeps pushing it when there's a setback. We have a director of economic development who very much believes in green energy and believes it could become a sort of glam issue for tourism to be a green spot and make that a marketing feature. So it seems like there are a number of conditions that are friendly that didn't used to be friendly, and maybe it is time to do something now. Let's sell them solar. Oh, wait, we did that. Anybody here have any experience with the planning board and how that works? Barry, I noticed they have a planning hearing for their some tweaks to their overlay district tomorrow afternoon. It's a Zoom. It's listed on the town site if you get down to planning board agendas. It's not one of their regular meetings. It's a special hearing. It's at 2:59 tomorrow. Who has a meeting at 2:59? But I guess they're very hardworking and they start early. But that would give you an idea of what the public hearing aspect of proposing something that would be a zoning bylaw would look like.
I mean, my instinct is if this were something that was going to be pursued, you wouldn't start it with a launch at a public event. You would be talking to folks in the both the town staff that work with the planning board and the people who lead the planning board about the concept before it became a public issue.
Oh, of course, of course. For some zoning things, they have to have public hearings. So this is a kind of more
Yeah, no,
advanced
it would
stage thing.
ultimately wind up being a public question, but
Yeah.
you'd lay the groundwork.
Oh, of course.
Way
Yeah.
short of that.
Yep. Marilyn, you've been pretty quiet. Any thoughts about this zoning idea?
I was just wondering, wasn't it in the paper recently that Eversource did work with solar to keep P-Town connected, you know, and that they had backup battery storage? That was in the paper.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it's confined to just the main part of P-Town, you know, like downtown, or the entire town.
I think it was when they had the emergency management teams and we lost all the power during the storms that Eversource took on Wellfleet, Truro, P-Town, all of those that lost all their police departments. And I think that there was a big project, if I remember correctly, with the batteries
Right.
going up there that Eversource was working on.
Yeah. Yeah, because for all the way that we kind of carry on here when we lose power, I mean, when they lose power out there, they really lose power. Okay, any final feedback for Barry?
I think it's really worth looking into it and having it. I'd love to see that.
Everyone is thinking so hard they can't speak, but they will be getting back to you.
Oh, you couldn't hear me?
No.
I think, no, you said.
I did.
I think that we should look into it a little more. Maybe, Barry, do you need a subcommittee on this?
If that feels early, I mean, like, this is more in the brainstorming stage of whether there's an appetite for it.
I think my son has been in some of the other towns that they're doing some things with it. So at that last meeting that we had at Cape Light Compact, it wasn't Howich involved in doing some of this kind of stuff, Howich and Chatham. I know that my son's been working on a couple of projects that have big homes that are putting solar. So I don't know. I thought in Howich and Chatham that they were working on this also.
Barry, would this replace the other bylaw that you're proposing?
No, it's kind of in a completely different, I mean, the other two bylaws that we had been talking about were about town projects, you know, but
okay.
town converting the fleet to electric vehicles and the town incorporating net zero goals into designing new public buildings.
Yeah, okay.
But this is about actually imposing a mandate on private developers, basically.
Yeah, okay.
Wasn't encompassed in.
I wasn't differentiating between the two there. Yeah, I think it, you know, do them both together, sort of as a 1-2 punch, although that analogy is not exactly one we would like it to seem like. Joyce, are you there?
She is there, but I'm not sure. She's not muted or anything. I'm not sure what's happening. Joyce, can you hear us? You can't speak? You're not muted.
We aren't hearing you, Joyce.
She lost her microphone. I don't know if she needs a battery in it, maybe. She lost it. She's dead in the water. Who's vice chair? Are we at the end of our agenda?
I think so.
Mike is vice chair and isn't here.
Yeah, maybe time to adjourn.
Somebody
Well,
wanna
would the
make-
secretary as acting chairman, like, to-
No.
Madam Secretary, I do think we are in desperate need of your stepping up to sort of adjourn us if you wish.
Okay,
Joyce
Somebody
could,
make a motion to
Joyce could give
adjourn?
us a thumbs up if she
Oh.
agrees.
Sandy just did, and I second it.
okay,
All those in favor? Say
aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. We're adjourned. Good night. I'll stop
Night.
recording. See
Okay, bye-bye.
you later, Joyce.